Hi, I'm an Australian here in Belarus, and I'm currently in Mogilev, a nice little city to the east of Minsk. And I've been thinking a little bit about the differences between Minsk, where I live, and these other nice little cities. And I've come up with a few things because the feeling is very, very different once you leave the capital city. And of course, this is the same everywhere you go, right? The big cities, small cities are very different. Now, the first point you can see behind me, look at all these kids playing in the water, riding around their bicycles. There's families here. It has a family community feeling. Everyone's in this is Atrium if you've been here before, the new shopping centre. Behind me here is like this central walkway, very Soviet. Further up is another sideways kind of street there with lots of restaurants. And it feels like the town square, right? It's not this kind of lonely, weird, isolated place like Minsk. It feels like everyone here is together. You have babushkas sitting there, kids running around, parents together. The family unit seems to be more intact in rural areas than it is in big bad Minsk. So that's the first thing. Togetherness, community, this kind of feeling, family feeling is much more prevalent here in the smaller cities compared to Minsk. One big obvious thing that comes to mind here in the smaller cities is that there's no homeless people. I don't see anyone who's homeless, anyone who's begging. You get kind of these gypsies, a couple of gypsies near Galleria Mall in Minsk. And don't get me wrong, Minsk has way less homeless, way less begging than the average Western city does. Like, it's not even close. But they still have some. But these smaller cities, just nothing. I just don't see anyone's homeless. You don't see anyone who is begging for money or anything like this. It just doesn't happen. And also, there's no one selling flowers. Like in Minsk, flowers is big business, man. There's big florists in actual formal shops. There's heaps of babushkas selling flowers by the side of the street, under the underwalk things in the metro there. They're just everywhere selling these things. But in smaller cities, this disappears for some reason. I'm guessing that the dating market is different. Like in Minsk, there's somewhat of a dating market. There's this kind of hyper competition that this kind of anonymity and the capital city brings. Whereas in these smaller cities, they're more like towns, they're more like communities. So maybe this kind of hyper competition doesn't exist here, and therefore the need to buy flowers all the time or often also does not exist. Just speculating. Third thing is pretty random, but I've never seen so many pregnant women in my life. I've never been to a fertility clinic, but I imagine it's like this. There's so many pregnant women here. Whereas Minsk, there's so many single women who are not really interested in having a family or don't prioritize it or prioritize themselves, going to restaurants, cafes, this kind of stuff. Whereas here in Mogilev, there's so many pregnant women. Oh my goodness, like real like watermelon pregnant. I got twins coming kind of pregnant. I haven't seen this. I don't remember seeing a single pregnant woman in Minsk. Of course, I would have seen one or two, but certainly seen more here in 48 hours than I've seen in Minsk in just in almost 1 year in Minsk. The other thing, just as those two boys went past me, I'm not sure if you saw them, two boys about 15, you could hear the music maybe. In Minsk, what always happens, this is random, I'm just making this up now, I'm just thinking about it now. In Minsk, when I'm walking around filming, what I always get is people in the background waving hello, yelling hello. The last video I made was like maybe a 13-year-old girl going past on an electric scooter and she's like, "Здравствуйте," like this. You always get people photobombing you in Minsk. And it's fun. It's done in a really fun and friendly way, and I really like it. And I've started a lot of conversations and met a lot of people that way. I usually cut it from the video, but that's what happens all the time. Like literally every single 10-minute walking video I do, minimum 2 photobombs. People like, hello, from behind, and then kind of keep walking. Here in Mogilev, nothing like that. I've just realized, walking around, no one's kind of paying attention to me. No one's kind of do the hello thing from behind. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe you can tell me, what do you think that is? Why people in Minsk are more likely to photobomb and say hello? As I say, you can't imagine how much this happens. Whereas here in Mogilev, they're not doing it as much. It's kind of random. But anyway, here's some thoughts, some differences between life in Minsk with life in the smaller regional cities. Just wanted to share this with you. I just found it really funny. it's not related to this content at all, but just my experience. And as I'm filming this, I have 502 subscribers, which I'm very appreciative for, but it's quite a modest number, let's be fair. And I just went up to Komarovka Market, where I hadn't been for a while. I go there mainly just to buy food to eat, not restaurant, not other stuff. But I went up there to get a shawarma in this little Vietnamese place. And I talk to these people quite a lot. I just chat with them while they're cooking or whatever for 5 minutes. It's run by this little old lady and her husband, and the other girl there is like her friend's daughter, and they're all Vietnamese. They speak good Russian, better than me, which doesn't say much. But anyway, so I go in and it's the daughter's there, the friend's daughter's there, and she's like, do you want the usual? I haven't been there for maybe 3 weeks, which is a big gap for me. And I'm like, yeah, cool, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what have you been up to? Whatever. And I'm like, I've just been to Mogilov and something. And she says, yeah, do you have to work? Like, you're just traveling around or whatever? I was like, well, I kind of have some YouTube channel stuff going on. And I showed her the YouTube channel. This one, Australian Belarus. She got very excited. It's cool. And then she told her friend's mum, who's like the queen of the place. And she's like, yeah, I already know, I already watch it. And I'm like, that's so funny. How did she find that? So I don't think I would have mentioned it to her. Maybe I did. I don't think I did. It's so funny, this little old Vietnamese woman, maybe in her 70s, kind of watching, which is really cool. And then I had a little bit of a hankering for something sweet. It's getting close to closing time, right? So I'm like, I'm going to go buy some baklava. There's this shop I always go to, but I haven't been there again for maybe a month or two. When I go in there, I usually talk to the girls there, a couple of Afghani ladies, just chat with them. Just whatever, talking, whatever, how's your life, what are you doing, blah, blah. Normal stuff. So I go in there and there's only one of them there. And we start talking about, she was talking about her business at the moment and how tomorrow she has to like count the stock, even though it's a day off at Komarovka, she's got to count the stock and blah, blah. I was just telling her, I've been at Mogilov and I did this and whatever, and talking about like prices and stuff. I was saying my mate just went to Dublin and paid $70 for like a share room for one night and this kind of stuff. Anyway, the other lady walks in and she's like, здравствуйте, как твои дела, blah, blah. And we're just kind of chatting. And then she says, I've been watching your blog. And she was telling me whatever one video she was describing to me. And it's like, that's so funny. It's like, because I don't think I told them either, but somehow they've kind of found it. I had a video filming around Komarovka. She was saying that's how she found it, and then she watched some other videos and obviously recognised it was me, of course. And I was just like laughing. It's like, so 502 subscribers. What proportion of these subscribers do I know? So I've got several mates back in Australia who watch me. And even yesterday I was at Galleria and I bumped into Christoph, if you're watching. A guy I hadn't seen for about 6 months, but a really good guy. I like him a lot. I only hang out with him a bit when I first came here. I think he went off to Europe, whatever, came back again. And he said the same thing, I've been watching your channel. I'm like, how'd you find out about it? It's kind of random. I mean, obviously, the expat community is not super big, but it's kind of funny, like, out of my 502 subscribers, I thought I maybe knew 52 of them, but turns out I probably know like 402 of them. So if you do know me, please yell out below, say hello, don't be shy. If you don't know me, do the same thing, because you're actually probably in the minority, which is kind of weird, but cool at the same time. As you probably noticed, I'm an Australian living here in Belarus. And if you'd like to know more, get some intel, plan your trip here, buy some property here, learn more about how to marry a Belarusian woman and make sure that it works out well, like unfortunately many do not, hit me up on marriedinminsk.com.